And we are back with the Future Agent podcast. We're running it back because last week we had some audio difficulties. And today we're talking, this was a great topic. That's why we want to run this back. We're talking about all things going forward in real estate, why the team model is going to be the model that stands out and is the ultimate model for real estate agents going forward. We got some good stuff today, guys. Let's get into it. Welcome in, everybody. My name is Boo Maddox, team lead of the Perry Group here in Utah County. We're having a ton of fun. This is month 13 of us doing this thing. And needless to say, I am all about the team model. This is something that's fascinating to me, and I can't wait to get your opinion. Why don't you introduce yourself for the people that don't know you?
Absolutely. If you're new here, my name's Tony Acosta. I've been in the industry for 13 years, going on year 14.
Look at you.
Which I realize I've been in almost as long as Jack Perry.
Hey.
Which is awesome. I've done a little bit of everything. I've been a showing assistant. I've been a principal broker, an agency owner, and now we're here at the #1 team in the world at Real Broker. And because I've seen a little bit of everything, I think I have a unique perspective on today's topic.
Yeah, so let's get into this. Before we really start to dive into the nitty gritty of what this whole episode is going to entail, I want to know, where does this hate come from? Where does this sex appeal that everyone thinks going solo is the ultimate move? Because we've ran the numbers. I've looked at the numbers a million ways to Sundays, and yes, I'm opinionated for the sake of being opinionated. But when you break it down by the numbers, the average agent last year sold in Utah just around 2 houses. On our team, it was 8.5 transactions. So even if you're getting paid worst case scenario, 50% as much as the average real estate agent, you still doubled up what the average real estate agent did. And to me, that's what this is always going to come down to. This is a job that we are in to make money. Where's the money? Like, I don't understand why everyone feels like a team is something that is set aside for brand new agents or for agents that feel like they're in a funk. Where does this hate come from?
I think it starts with the real estate education system being completely broken.
Break it down, burn it down, rebuild it entirely.
It's done. I'm sorry, realtors, but we are not taught to be business people. Real estate agents are some of the worst business people out there, and I drank that Kool-Aid. And the reason why we're such bad business people is because the ultimate dream of a real estate agent is to be solo 100% commission. But what you don't realize is that there is no big successful company in the world that operates like that. Any successful company has expenses, has to understand margin, has to have investments, needs staff. Like, there's so much that goes into doing business at a high level, and the real estate education system doesn't even mention anything like that. So we come into this industry and we automatically think the higher the split, the more we're being robbed, and we don't like people taking our money. What we don't understand is that investment is necessary if you want to scale. I think the question becomes, okay, if you're paying a split, what are you buying? Which is part of what we're going to get into today. But I think the hate comes from this idea that if I am at a 100% commission split, I am doing better than an agent that's at a 70-30 or at an 80-20. And it's just not true.
Yeah, I think I always looked at this as like, what is my net? What am I taking home at the end of every year? And for all of my time being on a team, I've never made better than 70-30 until I joined the Perry Group. I had never made better than 70-30, and I still out-earned every single solo agent in Utah multiple years. And when I say out-earned, and I think we talk about this analogy all the time. It's not even an analogy, it's what actually happens. So many real estate agents, when they're running their numbers, when they're breaking it down, when they're looking at it and saying, should I join a team, should I go solo? They're comparing their net that they make on a team to what their gross is as a solo agent. Not factoring in that, hey, if I'm solo, I got to pay for my own signs, I got to pay for my own photos, I got to pay for my own content, I got to pay for a transaction coordinator, I got to do all of these different things to make sure that my business can continue to run. And for some reason, they compare a net on a team versus a gross, and I never viewed it that way. I always looked and I said, hey, if I was to compare my take-home pay, does this make sense? Could I go and do this and pay for these systems on my own? The reality is that I couldn't.
But you can't, and if you do, then often it ends up being more expensive. And I felt this when I owned my own agency. All of a sudden, I had to start paying for all of these things. And whether it's a transaction coordinator that, in my case, charged me $800 a transaction, the listing signs, the office space that I had to pay for, everything. And so, again, I think it stems from this idea that we need to pay as little as possible. And also, I think that the brokers and team leads at large do a really poor job at actually delivering on what they're supposed to be delivering on.
I've been running these numbers because I was
Yes.
curious, like, where are these brokers making their money? I'm looking at your numbers. You had 350 agents and you had 7 that were producing more than 5. Where's the money? How are you earning a living running a team or as a broker? I figured it out finally.
What is it?
Good news. They charge a monthly fee.
Fees on fees
They
on fees.
charge an $80, $100 monthly fee to 350 agents. So who gives a damn if your agents actually produce? Who cares if your agents are producing or if they're not producing? All that you care about is keeping them on the hook for long enough that they can make that next February payment to you, and that they can pay you for their printing, and they can pay you for their signs, and they can pay you for all of these things. Y'all are still paying a split. You're just paying it up front prior to a closing. It baffles my mind how this math is not being done.
100%. And one of the things that I saw a lot of value in this team is that this team, and I'll say it time and time again, really puts their money where their mouth is. Not only in terms of investment of providing all the logistical resources that an agent could need, but if an agent doesn't produce, the team doesn't make any money.
Even as I get into the leads that y'all are offering, y'all are not offering leads. Y'all are offering a list to people that they can call and say, hey, did you know that you hovered your mouse over this banner for long enough for it to collect your information and send
Break
it to us?
that down, though, because I think a lot of agents are going to be surprised by that. When you broke it down the way that you did it, clicked in a different way, what's the difference between a lead and a list?
A lead is somebody calling and saying, Tony, can you go and show me this house today at 4 o'clock? That's my experience with a lead. My experience with a lead is somebody walking into a model home and saying, hey, we want to buy a house. We want to buy something between 450 and 500 in Lehigh. Can you help us out? My experience on this side with the residential side is, can you go and show us this house today at 4:30? Because that's what these Zillow leads that we are providing are. Are they more expensive? Absolutely.
yes.
They are infinitely more expensive than a 2-cent per lead PPC lead.
Well,
but that's not a lead.
Here's the thing.
That's not a lead.
Let me pause you there real quick, though. Are they drastically more expensive, or is it that that's what a real lead should cost?
That's what a real lead should cost, I think. If you are paying for somebody to do your lead gen, it is not a cheap investment. It is not cheap, and that's why I think that it is so important as we are interviewing all of these agents. I try to stress it, hey, I'm not providing you a list. I'm not providing you something that I could have printed off of damn RedX and saying, here you go, call these leads, and saying, hey, you're going to pay me a 50-50 split on these. No, I'm going to charge you the same 50-50 split, but I'm going to have a lead that's calling you saying, hey, can I go see this house today at 4:30?
Yeah.
Infinitely different.
Infinitely different. The analogy that I use, it might be a strange one, but I see it as when I'm giving somebody a list, I'm giving them a fishing rod and saying, hey, go out there and fish and bring me
Good
something.
luck.
Good luck. Go out there. There should be some fish here because, I mean, there's fish here. It's water, right? So there should be a fish. Here's a fishing rod. Good luck. Versus what we do, which is we're going to fill this net with fish. We just need you to go cook it.
Bring the net in. That's all you got to do.
The net is already full, my guy. All I need you is to have the skill set to be able to cook it properly. It is not the same.
And I think what's happening is these team leads, these brokers are saying, no. Don't go join those guys. You don't want to be on a team. You want to be a solo agent. Here's your list. Oh, hey, by the way, did you pay me my $80 this month? Let's get into it, Tingy. Point number 1, the shift from solo agent to collaborative teams. I love that word collaborative because we are absolutely that here. Why the traditional solo agent model is becoming less competitive. The power of specialization, having dedicated roles for lead generation, transaction coordination, marketing, and client service. Now successful teams create efficiency and scale without sacrificing client experience. I think this scale point is a hell of a point that we need to make because we've talked about the cost of running your own shop and your own business and quote unquote being your own boss. But what people fail to realize is the scalability of it. If you build systems, if you build a business as a real estate agent that is set up to handle 10 transactions a year, and at the end of 2025, you're going into it saying, hey, Tony, I think I want to go to 20 deals next year. Guess what? You have to tear everything down and you have to rebuild it all back up from the ground up. because what used to work will no longer work if you are trying to double your business. So having a system like ours that we can say, hey, we're going to go from 1,100 transactions in 2024, 1133, to 1,500 transactions in 2025. We already have the systems in place. It's just a matter of expanding them ever so slightly versus, and that's something that you could come plug in your 15 deals to, and I can help you get to 25. Scaling is where I think so many people miss the mark on
We
this.
do, because again, we're not taught to do so. We're not even taught to think of it in that way. So if the goal is to do 5 deals a year, sure, then go pay as little as possible. You'll be able to handle everything on your own.
You don't
Now,
need systems at that point.
You don't.
You need a somewhat effective CRM, and that's the extent
That's
of
it.
it.
So cool, no worries. But if you have higher ambitions, it's going to take a little bit more resources to be able to get it done. Now, when you mention that process of an agent saying, okay, if I did X amount, then I want to double it, I have to tear everything down and rebuild it. Very few agents have the skill set to do that. What I have found and what I've learned being here and seeing scale, seeing 1,000+ transactions, how that works, is that most agents are not going to have the skill set to burn down systems, build them back up, and deal with all of the back end stuff that they have to do if they wanted to actually pull that off. Many agents are perfectly happy plugging into a competent system, which goes back to the question of agents. What are you buying? The way that I view this, and I think the Perry Group is the very best example of this, the Perry Group understands that the Perry Group is a service company for agents.
We are not after the clients. Our clients are real estate
Are
agents.
the agents. And so for the agents, the client is consumers, buyers, and sellers. For the team, the customer is the agent. And so then goes all to that goes into all of the business lingo of being consumer centric and unreasonable hospitality and the thank you economy and all of those things of how do you cater to your customer as best as possible. I think a lot of brokerages and teams miss that point.
Yeah, but they don't miss the point when it's time for you to pay your $80 a month fee.
They'll charge you.
Which is absolutely, like I said, it's insane to me, but it makes sense now how they're penciling, how they are still existing. And I mean, a lot of them are starting to merge. I've heard some rumors lately about a couple of big brokerages that are having to combine their offices because they're losing people. And I think what's happening is people are realizing there is a better way to do this.
The system's
there is
broken.
a more effective way for producing transactions. And especially as we start to see more compression against commissions, you are going to have to scale your business to the point where you are selling a lot of transactions. And so for me, when I was at Edge, I looked at it and said, okay, in 1 year, I went from 75 transactions to 204 transactions, and I had to make a couple of minor tweaks, but the system that I was already plugged into had all of the room for that. Nothing had to change on the transaction coordination, nothing had to change on the marketing side, nothing had to change on the listing side. Like it was all built in because it was a robust system, and all I had to do was plug my transactions into it.
And that was exactly my experience coming here. Because by the time that I got here, I already knew everything that was required. So when I took a step back and saw an objective view of the Perry Group, it's like, all right, they check off all the boxes. For experienced agents, I would say this, new agents need training and they need some leads. Experienced agents, they need a system. So when I saw it, I said, okay, I will buy that. Because agents, remember this, agents, never forget this. You're an independent contractor. Sometimes it doesn't feel that way.
No.
But agents, you are absolutely an independent contractor. It is your business. And when you align yourself with a brokerage, the way I view this now is, again, you are aligning yourself with a servicer. Is the servicer giving you everything you need to be able to run your business? If you don't view it in that lens and you're just at a brokerage because they're your buddies, but the service company isn't actually taking you to the next level, you need to look in the mirror and make some tough choices.
I mean, these service companies are running the exact same model as a gym. They sign 100 people up and they hope that only 10 are going to use it as long as they get to collect their monthly skippy.
And the good thing is that I think people are kind of waking up that that's a broken model.
Thank
It's not gonna
goodness.
work.
Point number 2, Tingy. Data-driven decision-making and AI-powered systems. How top teams are leveraging AI for lead scoring, predictive analytics, and automated follow-ups. The role of CRM systems in optimizing conversion rates and tracking team performance. Why embracing technology is key to staying ahead in an evolving market. Now, I want to get your take on this because I came from a team that was set up, like I said, part of why I joined the Perry Group is because I felt like the systems and everything that they had in place, it was a very similar business that all I had to do was plug it in. And so I am curious. I want to know, as somebody that used to celebrate when they would sell 12 deals and take the entire team to Tucanos, like you like to tell everybody, I want to hear what your opinion is on the systems and the data-driven analytics that we as a team have.
I often share that if you do this right, you'll eventually have your oh moment. Here's what I mean by the oh moment. When you hear a team does 1,000 deals, 1,200 deals, whatever the case may be, have $1 million right now in pending commissions.
Pending commissions, baby.
People outside look at that and they say, how? Like, how is that possible? If it's so hard, if I'm struggling to sell 10 homes a year, 12 homes a year, how the hell do these dudes do 1,200 deals in 1 year?
We just spend a bunch of money on Zillow, and that's the only reason.
They try to explain it away, they try to bash it, or there's just genuine confusion. But when I got here and all of a sudden the curtain pulls back a little bit, you have your oh moment. And the oh moment is, oh, that's how it's done.
There's
and what I
levels to
realized
this.
was that I was way off. I was way off. And it would have taken so much time and effort and resources to try to figure it out. And again, are there certain agents that are skilled enough to do it? Sure, but I think in
But
most
I think
cases,
that's the minority, and that's
it's
what
the
people are missing.
absolute minority. The absolute minority. So if you're a mutant out there, sure, could you pull off and build something massive on your own? Absolutely. But I think there's something to be said about just plugging into a massive system. And that's why when I first got here, the first analogy I made was playing for Real Madrid. Because I had two choices. I can either go try to start a little club by myself and try to build it up and try to make it into something big. Cool, everybody loves a hero story. Or go play for Real Madrid. They have the resources, the facilities, the systems, all of it. It's just a different level. And so agents, really think about it. It may be something that you've never seen before. I had never seen it before. But when you see certain numbers, you have to resist the urge to just explain it away.
Discount it.
Like really, like seriously, guys, ask questions, figure it out, and you will have your oh moment that will then take you to the next level. Because we have agents here that are doing more business in 1 year that they did in the last 4 because they had their own oh moment, and you cannot put a price on that.
And now they're all in. They have no desire to go to a different brokerage. They have no desire to go back to paying their $100 a month for a desk. They have no desire to be being charged for copies like some of these teams and brokerages love to do. I mean, it's baffling to me. And I think more than that, the really important part for me as a team lead, it's very difficult if I don't have proper context to sit down with an agent and say, you're really great at your first appointment, you suck at your follow-up, let's train on follow-up. So what you do is then you just do these blanket trainings that don't apply to 60% of the room because 60% of the room gets it. Having those specific numbers allows you to be ultra specific in your training and ultra specific in where am I going to put the emphasis for the next quarter to get really, really good at a specific skill set. And without those numbers, you're floating and you're taking guesses and you're hoping that you're correct in what you're saying, hey, I need to work on this.
And the first thing that I noticed, I remember the very first time that I went in to talk to Michael at the Sugar House office, the first thing I noticed was the screens. Massive 80-inch screens with charts and graphs and numbers and statistics and just breaking it down. That was the very first thing that I noticed, and I never forgot it. It was like, okay, these guys are obsessed with selling real estate, and they have mapped out every single KPI, every data point, everything that needs to be looked at in order to be a 1,200 transaction team. I didn't have that. So you have to look at the numbers, but understand what numbers you're looking at and what do those numbers mean.
Which can be terrifying. If you're an agent that doesn't want to go and grow their business, if you're an agent that's perfectly okay with selling 3 houses a year, not the spot for you.
Not the spot, because your numbers are going to be on the screen, my guy.
Your numbers are going to be up, and you're not going to have an excuse, right? That excuse is going to be taken away when you say, hey, I'm struggling. The market sucks. These leads suck. This person sucks. The listing agent sucks. And then Brian Garlick sends in 4 contracts in the same week. And you're
And you're
like,
on the Slack channel of under contract, under contract, under contract.
yeah, I mean, you got to
6
think,
times
we
a
sold
day.
165 homes last month. That means on average 3 to 4 times a day.
Bing,
Sold,
bing,
sold,
bing.
sold, sold. And that can be absolutely intimidating if you are not about this life, to put it in Kendrick Lamar terms.
Exactly.
So I think that for a lot of people, it can be daunting. But for those that are like, hey, I want to do better. I don't want to be in the 84% that washes out in year 2. I want to be a top producing real estate agent. We got you.
Guys,
Come
I
through.
didn't know what I didn't know. You have to go after your oh moment.
Next point, Tingy. Oh, building a culture of training, growth, and retention. The importance of ongoing education and skill development to keep agents at the top of their game. Why mentorship, accountability, and career progression are essential for agent retention. How top teams create a supportive environment that attracts high-performing agents. To that, Mr. Tony Acosta's point is what?
Well, we go back and forth on this, and I've actually said I think it's a very unique position that the Perry Group has put themselves in, because it's so difficult, you guys, from being a team lead since 2015, being a broker in 2017, an agency owner in 2020, it's very, very difficult to simultaneously build culture, train, motivate new agents and veteran agents at the same time. It's one of the most difficult things to do. Most will either do one or the other, and maybe they'll do it okay, but very few people can do both. And we have this conversation often of how is it that we can build a culture and a system that motivates young agents, gets them into production quickly, and simultaneously something that a veteran agent that knows how to produce looks at and says, I want to be a part of that. And that goes to exactly this: culture, training, mentorship. What does that look like? Because it's not the same for everybody.
Yeah, I think too, one of the other big distinguishing factors of the Perry Group, I see all of the time at all these different brokerages, all these different teams, whatever, you see all of these different speakers that they bring from outside.
Yes.
There is very little outside influence on this team. Why? Because if you want to have somebody that knows how to teach public speaking better than anybody else and have a training led on it, who are we calling? We call Tony Acosta, TEDx speaker to the stars, Forbes recognized speaker, and we say, Tony, come lead a training on how to public speak better. If you want to learn about new construction, you have Boo Maddox, who has sold more new construction than just about anybody in the state that can come in and train on new construction. If you want to learn about listings, if you want to learn about market analytics, if you want to learn about anything, we are calling agents on this team and saying, hey, Scott, can you come train on Lofty? Hey, Michael, can you come train on being a neighborhood expert? Hey, whoever, like the list goes on and on and on, to the point where some of our top people that would be public speaking and making the lecture circuit at all these other brokerages are piping up in team meeting from time to time. I mean, you got people like Spenny Ford who are not chilling in the background, but are another agent on the team.
Crushes it, by the way.
That's what I'm saying, that is constantly doing $20 to $30 million a year, would be the person that is brought in at every other brokerage.
That's a wild point. I never thought about that until you said it in that way. But it's true. There are probably 12 to 15 names of people that if they wanted to, they could build a large real estate coaching business, and yet they don't, and they're in-house. And these are people that you can hit up on Slack. I can send any of those people a DM on Slack right now, and they will respond to me within 45 minutes.
And they'll say, let's jump on a Zoom call so I can actually explain this in detail.
And so for me, that's part of, as a veteran agent, I will pay for that.
Yes.
I will pay for that.
That is worth whatever it ends up costing you,
100%.
because it's going to turn around and translate into more deals. That's the collaborative nature that we're talking about. We don't do secrets on this team. We don't have, hey, that's my secret sauce, that's my silver bullet. We don't do that here.
It's proximity.
Yes.
And so many people pay so much money for proximity. The fact that I can pick up my phone right now and I can call Michael Perry, I can call Katie Day, I can call all of these individuals, and they will pick up the phone and answer my question. People pay for proximity. The fact that for me, that's the cherry on top of all the other machines that I already get by being on this team. So again, agents, whatever it is that you need, if your team is doing it properly, you should not have to go outside and spend a single dollar on anything. I don't feel the need to go out and hire a different coach.
If you have a seller finance question, there's 5 agents on the team that you're hitting up. If you have a listing in Harvard, Yale, there's 3 agents that you're hitting up.
Airbnb, new
you know
construction.
What you have that in-house, and that's the collaborative nature. And that's why I think the team model is going to continue to stand out, because that does not exist at a brokerage where you have 350 agents that nobody knows and 7 that are actually worth a damn.
And that's the last one before we move on. That's the thing that baffles me the most, because agents don't want to pay team splits, but they're happy to go to every event.
Yep.
And they're happy to pay $6,000 for the VIP experience,
to be
or whatever
junkie.
conference.
Yep.
And they'll hire this coach, and they'll hire this coach, and they'll buy this program. But splits? Hell no.
No, that's my money.
No, I can't. Nope.
That's
no way.
my money.
Nobody's stealing my money.
$100 up front every single
It
month.
is
Hopefully you close the
wild.
deal. Yeah, that's fine. Sign me up.
It baffles me.
Crazy. Last point, Tingy. Expanding beyond traditional sales, the future of real estate teams, the rise of teams diversifying into investment properties, new construction, property management, and mortgage services, how teams are becoming full-service real estate business instead of just transaction-based operations, why future-proofing a team means adapting to shifting consumer needs and economic trends. Now, this is something I'm very excited to talk about, because I actually gave myself a new title this week.
Oh, really?
Did you know that?
I did not know that. This is
I
news
am
to me.
officially, according to Michael and I, and ChatGPT,
Okay.
I am officially the Director of New Developments here at the Perry Group.
Oh, let's go. Okay.
And I think that this is a super important point for us to highlight here on the team.
Which, by the way, that is a brilliant topic. DND, do not disturb.
Hey.
Leave Boo alone. Let him go through his thing.
Hey, let Boo go and do his thing.
That's his thing.
Hey, This is what we are talking about. What we are talking about, the shift from solo agent to teams being the go-to model. To me, the teams model that we are talking about is what brokerages should have been doing all along, but for whatever reason have not been able to implement. For some reason, the implementation side of this is working a lot better at the team level. And I think what people need to understand is that when we are referencing a team, we are not talking about a mom and pop shop. We are not talking about Boo and Tony team that has 3 extra leads a month, so we need a showing assistant to help us. That's not what we're talking about. What we are talking about is dynamic teams that have multiple facets of the business, from commercial to new construction to investments to first-time home buyers to this neighborhood local expert to everything that is comprehensive on a team. That's what we are talking about. We are talking about hyper-localization, hyper-fixation on a very specific group, and allowing the systems around the team to help support that. We're not talking about a mom and pop team.
100%, and that just increases leverage. I mean, as we sit right here, you guys, as we sit right here, I'm doing a podcast. I have a listing in Lehigh that generated 7 Facebook leads over the last week or so. We have one of our team members, one of our better callers, making those calls. Leverage. I can do 2 things at a time. And if you don't have that, it's very difficult to scale. But that requires me to not feel like by me giving somebody these leads that I am losing out on money. And so I think another skill set or another angle that a lot of agents get wrong is, what do you want? Do you want the entire peanut, or do you want a slice of a massive, massive watermelon? Which is, I think, an underrated perspective that you have, where you just want to go out and build the biggest watermelon possible, and you know that you're going to get a slice, and you know that that slice is going to be bigger than
Trust
probably
the process, baby.
than any peanut that you could go out there and build.
That's my experience. That's not like some theory that I'm working on.
No, that's how it
operationally.
works.
That is what I have seen implemented, practiced, and that's what my family has reaped the benefits of for the last 7 years as I was on a team bringing home high 6 and low 7 figures.
Who do you think makes more money? Some average coder, do-it-yourself guy at home, or the number 37 guy at Facebook? Like, it's a no-brainer.
Yes.
It's a no-brainer. But when you have an opportunity to be a part of the Facebook, even if you're going to be the number 72 guy, you're probably going to make more money than if you went out there and tried to build Facebook on your own.
And are there those mutants that can absolutely do it? Absolutely. Like, I don't want to be presumptuous. I'm probably one of those mutants that could go out and do it. If I wanted to, I could go and build. Why don't I? Because I would rather tap into systems that already exist, that are proven, that are efficient, and allow my business to go faster, quicker. To me, that is the name of the game, is how can we get from point A to point B in a quicker and in a straighter line? And I think that the team model is going to be the model that wins out over the next 5 years. We've already started to see this shift. We see agents leaving these bigger brokerages that have the 350 agents to 7 producing agents. You see them leaving in droves right now, so much that a lot of those offices are starting to consolidate. I think that this is the beginning. I don't want to say the beginning of the end, because that sounds a little doomsday. But I do think that you are going to see a massive flocking, because what is currently being practiced in real estate is not working for the average agent.
It's not. And for the team leads that might be watching this, or brokers, understand who your customer is. Understand who your customer is and build a product that actually drives results for your customer. Your customer is the agents. If your agents don't have transactions, that is a reflection of your product that you are selling them or that you have sold them. So when you view it through that lens and then you look at your team stats, that's a reflection of the product that you've sold them.
And if you're an agent that's thinking, hey, I don't know if a team is right or not for me, there might be some ego involved. There might be some thinking, hey, I am not going to be able to keep as much money. You are absolutely correct. You will not keep as much money per closing. But if you have 8.5 closings instead of 2.2 closings every year, guess what? You're going to be doubling what your current income is. So that's it for today's pod, a topic I'm super passionate about. Ditch the gym membership model that is currently existing at all these big brokerages. Go and find a team that supports you, that allows you the systems to go and grow your business the way that you think works best, and we'll see y'all next week.